We all know the mythology of the modern startup. The founder stands on stage, the IPO hits, the valuation spikes, and the magazines print a bold headline about a world-changing idea that started on day one. But look at the timeline of actual business survival. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you track a cohort of new businesses over a decade, only about 35% of them are still operating at the end of it. The vast majority of companies never get anywhere near that cover shoot. If you want to know what actually kills most high-growth tech startups, research from Startup Genome points to a very specific trap: premature scaling. This single mistake takes out roughly 70% of the companies in their dataset. Premature scaling happens when founders hire aggressively, spend massive amounts of capital, and try to build a product for everyone before they have actually proven that anyone wants it. The infrastructure gets too heavy, and the whole thing collapses. Trying to act like a massive, mature company right out of the gate is a near guarantee of failure. Enduring companies survive because they successfully navigate a very strict sequence of 6 transitions. The first transition requires moving from a broad ambition to a hyper-specific niche. To capture a massive market, you actually have to start by dominating a tiny, constrained slice of it. Jeff Bezos didn't launch the everything store. In his early shareholder letters, he was very clear that Amazon started strictly with books. Books offered a massive catalog that physical retail simply couldn't stock. That narrow wedge provided an immediate advantage over brick-and-mortar stores. Once you have a wedge, you face the second transition, turning an invention into a habit. This is true product-market fit. It happens when a product resets the baseline standard that customers use to judge everything else in the category. Consider how Tesla approached the auto market. They didn't invent the electric vehicle. Instead, they took a technology previously seen as a compromise and framed it entirely around acceleration, range, and prestige, making the EV an aspirational symbol. Those first 2 stages have nothing to do with scale. They are entirely about proving you have a foothold that customers truly want, long before you spend a single dollar trying to expand. The third transition separates good ideas from actual companies. You have to move from having a great product to building a repeatable delivery engine. A category-defining product cannot survive without a scalable distribution system. We see this in Amazon. Long before profitability, they aggressively expanded distribution capacity, recognizing logistics as their core asset. Subsequent annual reports directly attribute their massive revenue growth to that fulfillment network. They invested heavily to ensure physical systems kept up with demand. Without a reliable way to get the product into a customer's hands cheaply and at scale, an invention is really just a promising demo. The winner in a given market is rarely the team that drew up the best initial concept. The winner is the team that builds the most ruthless, repeatable delivery system. As that engine scales, the company hits the 4th transition, moving from founder reliance to a self-sustaining machine. At a small scale, a founder's intensity holds things together. At a large scale, relying on one person to make every decision creates fatal bottlenecks and corporate fragility. To survive, the organization has to develop a resilient internal culture. The goal is to build a system that continuously produces high-quality decisions, even when the founder is completely absent from the room. You can see this institutionalized in Toyota's system of continuous improvement, or Google's famous policy of giving employees dedicated time for exploratory work. They built norms that force innovation to happen systemically, rather than relying on a single charismatic leader. The 5th transition turns growth into a fortress. Size is vulnerable unless protected by switching costs and network effects. Visa processes over $14 trillion annually, building an embedded transaction network that merchants and banks simply cannot afford to leave. That kind of defensibility is not a shield you magically acquire once you hit a certain revenue tier. It is an active fortress that the company must deliberately earn and continuously maintain against competitors. The final transition turns the business into societal infrastructure. This happens when the company embeds itself so deeply into a customer's daily routine that removal becomes practically impossible. Apple's 850 million weekly App Store users show this in practice. The platform operates as the underlying architecture of daily digital life, providing the environment in which users manage their most basic tasks. But let's step away from the massive corporate scale. Look objectively at your own side hustle, your career, or your small business. Instead of looking at the billionaire finish line, diagnose exactly which of these valleys of death you are currently trapped in. Identify your immediate bottleneck. Are you still trying to find a wedge? Are you struggling to build a delivery engine? True growth demands supreme discipline. Conquer the friction of your current stage and refuse to scale until the foundation is ready.